This is The Weekly Set, an official podcast of TheTotalScreen.com.
I wish I was the monster you think I am.
You have come here to beseech me?
Can't ask for your soul.
Madness can be a medicine for the modern world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Set, the official podcast of The Total Screen. I'm your host. My name is Tyson, and joining us today, as always, is my partner in crime here at The Total Screen, William Rohrig.
Hello.
So today we are going to be talking about Wandavision, episode 9. This is the series finale, and the name of the episode is The Series Finale. This is episode 294 of our podcast, and yeah, we're going to be discussing the end of Wandavision, which, you know, is probably not going to have a second season, just because thematically it doesn't really make sense. It's a miniseries. That's kind of what Marvel's doing with all these shows, is they're kind of making little miniseries that connect different parts of movies and stuff and allow them to develop the depth of certain characters, with a few exceptions. Like, I think like Ms. Marvel and like She-Hulk might actually end up being multi-season actual shows, you know?
Yeah, they said some of them are being developed as multi-season, some are being developed as miniseries.
I heard Loki's actually going to be like a multi-season.
Could be.
Which is interesting. I totally thought that one would have been a miniseries too.
The premise is pretty open-ended when you think about it. So
yeah. I know, like, I at first I thought all the like really big ones, like WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, I thought all those ones were going to be miniseries.
Yeah, that's
but the other ones like Ms. Marvel and
Moon Knight, She-Hulk.
Yeah, I thought those ones would be actual like multi-season shows, you know?
Right.
But it looks like they're kind of going to, you know, play it a little bit loose and try both ways with different things.
The challenge is going to be, if they're going to start doing multi-season shows, is keeping it relevant to the MCU, because they kind of claim like, oh, that was like a huge issue when they were doing like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff. It's like they can't really tie it closer because, oh, we're doing our show every week, and the movies, you know, it's just a different production schedule, so it's so difficult. And it's like, now they kind of made like a promise to the people that these are going to be more closely intertwined, and so if you're going to start doing that, you know, like, the excuse isn't going to fly again. I
kind of like the idea of them not doing it multi-season, of like I wouldn't mind them making another show about Wanda Maximoff.
Right.
And just having it be like a different show, like a different structure, a different name, you know, just call it like the Scarlet Witch or something, you know, and then do like a completely other show for another point in her life that they need to tell a story for. But that way they don't have to try to fit it into the format of like WandaVision. They could do something completely different, you know?
Yeah, they could. Oh, yeah.
So I really like the idea of that, you know, that they could do something like that. Or like, same thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier, that they could, like, you know, Falcon and Winter Soldier is supposed to end, you know, speculatively, with Falcon kind of fully taking up the mantle as Captain America. So that kind of leaves Winter Soldier as like an outside thing now. So it would be kind of cool to see like maybe some other Winter Soldier series maybe afterwards. And it doesn't have to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier season 2. It could just be some other completely different show with the Winter Soldier in it, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I like the idea of that. Like, I really like that, because we've talked about before, the entire MCU is like one giant TV show, you know? And like Kevin Feige's the showrunner, you know? And all of these are just like little arcs. Like WandaVision is just like the B plot of like phase 4, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, let's get into the episode itself.
Yes,
so before we kind of break anything down or something, I just kind of want to have like, what's your honest opinion? What's your satisfaction on the season or the series finale?
The series finale, my satisfaction?
Yeah.
It's probably going to sit around somewhere between a 7 and an 8 for me. Because
I'd kind of say it's something similar for me. Like,
yeah,
I'm a little disappointed.
Don't get me wrong, it's very well done. And it
has some great moments.
It just played out very predictably, very safely. They didn't.
I think it played out very like clean.
Yeah,
like it ended way too clean.
Yeah, it ended clean. Ended the way that you would expect it to end.
Yeah.
If there were no like twists. There were no like there wasn't like anything out of left field.
Well, I think the thing is that what this ended up becoming, what WandaVision as a series ended up being, once you kind of figure it all out, is a show about grief.
Yes, it is.
And for a show about grief to have such a clean ending, like such a like, oh, everything's resolved kind of ending, just doesn't sit right with me, you know? Like something about that doesn't sit right. Grief isn't supposed to feel like that. Like it shouldn't have been that clean. It should have been a bit messier, you know? Because that's what grief is. So like I'm a little disappointed in that. I also thought that like even though this is the longest episode of the series, a lot of stuff felt like really rushed. Like, okay, we need to hit our action beats now. Okay, we need to hit this now. And that made it feel a little bit less organic, you know? So those are kind of, I think, my big issues with the show. I wasn't too terribly disappointed with, like, I know some people online are, like, freaking out about all the mysteries that weren't answered, like they always do with any mystery box show when it ends. But, like, I wasn't too bothered with most of that. There's a few things. Like, I thought the Evan Peters thing was kind of dumb.
Yeah, the Evan Peters thing was dumb. I thought that was like really awesome when they introduced him, but then it turns out it was just an Easter egg for the viewers.
Yeah.
It's not, and it wasn't like the whole thing of Evan Peters wasn't relevant, you know, plot wise, or you know, it wasn't relevant universe wise, and that was disappointing.
Yeah, like it didn't even have to be the answer everybody wanted. It could have been a different answer, but just like it felt like such a red herring, you know? Like by the end of it, it felt like such a pointless red herring. The whole thing with Monica being abducted in the post-credit scene by him and then like breaking out in this episode just felt completely pointless. Like it didn't need to be there. Like they could have just like cut him from the series from the moment Wanda knocked him away that one time. They could have just like never shown him again in the series and it would have been fine. Like nothing would have been lost. You know, except I guess we did get him delivering the line boner. Like well I thought that was a hilarious delivery.
He just turns out that, you know, he is just a normal dude that was giving an enchanted necklace by Agatha that controls him and also gives him super speed.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's not only is that bad from the standpoint of like his reveal being that and that being interesting, but he's also Ralph.
Yeah.
And so that made that reveal kind of like annoying
that's right.
too.
Yeah.
So it was like two reveals like dumbed down at once. So I understand like people being upset about that. To me, that wasn't the part of the series I was most invested in.
No, it wasn't.
So I wasn't like, yes, I think it wasn't handled that well. And yes, I think it was a total red herring and I wasn't too much of a fan of that.
Like I said,
but it didn't negatively affect the story that much for me.
It was literally just an Easter egg for the fans.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a little disappointment.
Yeah.
You know, more than anything else. Like it didn't ruin it. It just was
it didn't end up being anything of significance to the story.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, that could have been something more, but I guess it wasn't.
Right. They just didn't want to go there, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should kind of like go through our kind of disappointments first, and then we can kind of talk about what we like.
So the whole thing about the Evan Peters thing is like, so they just want their their Luke Skywalker moment, their oh my god moment for the audience, but they didn't want to commit to it.
There was an expert troll. I don't know if you saw any of the interviews leading up in WandaVision, like while the show was going on.
Oh yeah, I know what Paul Bettany said.
Yeah.
He said he got to like work. He gets to work with like an actor he's never worked before, and you know that he highly respects.
I saw like rumors that it was going to be like Al Pacino playing Mephisto or something.
Yeah,
you know, like crazy like that.
Bunch insane, like never going to happen rumors.
But it's like, yeah, there's so much like that where it's like, oh man, this there could be something really cool, and it was pretty much an expert troll by Paul Bettany. Basically, the big guest appearance, the actor that he's always wanted to work with was himself.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Jesus.
It's almost like it's frustrating, but I can't even be mad because it was such an expert troll. Like it works so well as a troll that like I can't even be that mad about it. But what else? Before we kind of get into like what we liked about it, what else was kind of like disappointing for you? What brought the score down for you?
Just they didn't do more with Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, that kind of felt wasted.
Yeah, that was her whole character arc was set up for like Captain Marvel 2, which is I felt like okay, they're just prepping her for something else. She's not going to be that important for this show apparently.
That's the kind of stuff that hurt Age of Ultron so much. Was like trying to cram in all of that, set up for other movies.
And I was just like I was ready when she got her powers. I was ready to see her like in action. Instead we got like this lame shot of like her like phasing bullets to like save the kids.
Yeah, that just looked like something out of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something.
It did like really need saving anyway because like the one kid was like stopping the bullets anyway. It was just like really lame. It's like that's it. That's like the one time she uses her powers and that's it.
She used them to do a superhero landing a few episodes ago.
Oh, that's true. She did the superhero landing. I got so excited, and then they didn't do anything with that, and I was like, they basically like, oh, wait till something else to see more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that pretty much it for the disappointments for you?
I think that's pretty much it.
So then let's now talk about let's get rid of the bummer and let's talk about what worked, what was good about this, and I think what did work is even though I feel like the series wrapped up too cleanly for a show about grief, like the moments of grief in the episode, like the moments where they played that out in this episode were exceptional.
Well, yeah. What was good about this episode was Elizabeth Olsen and Agnes's actress, who
Catherine Hahn.
Catherine Hahn, that's it. Were on top of their games. They were amazing.
Paul Bettany too.
Paul Bettany too. But Paul Bettany had like a lot less screen time.
Yeah.
Than the other two. Like this was really the centerpiece of the episode was really the conflict between Agatha and Wanda, and basically Wanda like having to choose between like the life she's created in Westview and being a hero and actually doing the right thing. Yeah. And that was the central conflict. And again, I thought Elizabeth Olsen knocked it out of the park, like portraying like Wanda as, really straining to like, give up what she created out of grief just because she doesn't want to go back to how things were before, Westview. She doesn't want to go back to being Wanda,
alone.
Yeah, being alone. Yeah. Not having Vision, not having her children. She didn't want to do that.
Yeah, that was like really emotional. I don't know if it was as like strong performance wise for her as like last week's was. Where we got to see her kind of like in peak grief.
I mean her performance has been pretty consistent throughout the series. But
yeah. But I mean like last episode, I thought like if you were to find an Oscar clip, like not an Oscar clip, but like your awards show clip,
I am so sorry. I know we said we were done with disappointments, but now I'm thinking of Catherine Hahn. I'm thinking of Agatha. I have to say, I am disappointed that they just made her a straight one-note villain.
Yeah.
Instead of doing something different with that character, doing like a little twist, just revealing that actually she's only interested in power and gaining it for herself. That's her only agenda. I was like, you could like did something just to make her character a little more interesting.
Yeah, it felt like they were going to add in like a tie to Mephisto or Nightmare or something, and then they were going to like kind of make that a little bit more interesting, the dynamic between her and whatever being she would, potentially be attached to.
There was also like
some
speculation that like her motives were like she was trying to help Wanda reach her potential, or something. Yeah. But that didn't turn out to be the case.
She just wanted power.
Yeah.
Which is it's disappointing also because Agatha Harkness in the comics, from what I've heard, because I haven't, really read much of the ones with her in them, is like kind of straddles the line between like being an antagonist and being like a decent character, like I guess she was like the nanny for like, the Richards kid in Fantastic Four or something. And so she's had roles where she's not nefarious, like the character.
Yes.
So to kind of make her like a solely nefarious character it was a little disappointing.
Yeah. She turned out, she was full on villain after all. And Wanda defeats her. Wanda uses her own trick against her that we learned from last
Who
episode.
was nothing but a villain. It was Agatha all along. Yeah.
There's a lot of CGI fights in this episode, especially between Agatha and Wanda and Vision.
Yeah. I thought the Vision stuff was like really cool looking.
It was
I thought
really
the
cool
Agatha
looking.
Wanda stuff, like, besides the kind of showdown where it was less action and more like emotion with like Wanda being drained and then Wanda draining back. Besides that, I thought that Agatha Wanda stuff wasn't necessarily that great, the action scenes, but the Vision stuff was. The Vision action scenes were like really dynamic and cool. Like the way they like phase through each other and stuff as they were fighting, you know, was really cool and entertaining to watch. What did you think of the whole conversation between Vision and Vision?
That's what I was going to point out. That was the best part in any of the fights, was the whole Vision basically ending the fight with him and White Vision through philosophy.
Yeah, which is so Vision. That just
cool.
fits Vision as a character, you know?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's so perfect.
Yeah, that was really cool. The whole the whole boat question, the philosophical question about if you replace so much of a boat that there's nothing of the original left, is it still that original boat, you know? And like the way they kind of played into that. And it was cool when like, you know, I guess I could say Hex Vision unlocked the memories for White Vision. And when Vision realized, like, oh, I am Vision, and he kind of took off, you know, again, we don't want to dwell on the disappointments. It was kind of disappointing that's it. That was like all we got after that, you know, because he just realized he was Vision, and then he just, you know, upped out of there, and that was it. It would have been cool if like that kind of went into something else, but I like that. Like I'm glad they didn't revive, you know, Vision as Vision. You know what I mean? I think that would have felt like kind of cheap.
Yeah, that would have felt like kind of, yeah, exactly. I'm glad they didn't go that route.
And I'm glad they didn't simply have like White Vision kill the other Vision or something either. You know, I'm glad they had like a different route for it, you know, which just means we could still have Vision in the MCU, just a different version of Vision, which is kind of interesting in its own right. So I guess we can talk about Wanda's costume.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. It's more comic accurate, obviously. And it's about damn time. It's about damn time they gave her a proper costume.
Yeah, and I'm glad they didn't do like a cheap, low-budget TV costume or something.
Right, like I said, they're not working with cheap TV budgets. They're working with Marvel movie budget. That's a Marvel movie. That's a costume that's meant to carry itself into actual films that appear in theaters, so it cannot appear cheap. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really cool costume. It was a really cool reveal when she went into that costume. It did tie back into that scene we saw in last week's episode where when Wanda encountered the mind gem and saw like kind of the vision of her kind of floating, like it kind of matched up almost perfectly. Oh yeah.
You could line up those two shots and overlay them, and it
obviously
was probably a single shot that was used, and then they edited it into place.
Yeah, they just took the shot and they edited it into the Mind Stone scene. So that's all they did.
So that was really cool. I like how that came back around. You know. Yeah. I really liked the way that they brought back the whole lesson from Agatha with the hexes.
The hexes, the runes being like etched into the actual walls of the hex looked really awesome. That was a cool reveal.
Yeah. It's like Agatha went to use her powers and couldn't. And then she's like, oh, like I learned something from you. That was really cool. I really dug that. And I kind of dug the punishment that she ended up giving to Agatha. Although I don't quite understand how that plays into effect since she closed down the hex.
Yeah, I'm not sure unless
she's just going to be a nosy neighbor in reality now.
She is. Well, you gotta remember, Wanda was using her powers to control all these people, make them do stuff. Nothing says just because that there's no hex on town that she can't assert control over like one person. So that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. That also leaves Agatha in the game possibly to see her again, and hopefully they can turn her into something more than a one-note villain. Yeah, hopefully they can because Catherine Hahn's great, and she deserves she deserves the best material.
That might be the best thing to come from this, is what this is going to do for Catherine Hahn's career. Might be the best part about WandaVision. Because now everybody knows who Catherine Hahn is, and she's always been around, but she was always like a smaller, character actor that you just kind of like, oh, that's that person I've seen before, And now she's almost like a household name.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That might be one of the best things to come from WandaVision is Catherine Hahn's career being boosted.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's really cool. I'm excited about that. Should we talk maybe about the post-credit scenes?
Yeah, we should talk about the post-credit scenes. They did two. Again, the first one wasn't anything major. It was a setup for Captain Marvel 2. Obviously, Monica's pulled into the movie theater in Westview by one of the FBI agents who reveals herself to be a certain Skrull.
Yeah.
That we know.
I'm a little disappointed that they didn't use that friend of Monica's, that was they showed her her friend in that was also an agent of S.W.O.R.D. or something.
Her friend turned out to be nobody. It was
I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't make it that one Skrull from the movie, from Captain Marvel. That would have been a really cool thing,
Now it turned out to be nobody. That was the one thing people were speculating on.
That was a little disappointing, but it was kind of cool to see that, obviously the person they were talking about, the friend above that she needed to, see was obviously Nick Fury.
But yeah, it's just set up for Captain Marvel too, because she said, they need Monica in space. Yeah, so we know where that's going. Not much to say or speculate on there. But the second post-credit scene is much more interesting.
Yeah, Wanda doing some astral projection.
Yeah, she's doing astral projection. She's got the Darkhold, Yeah. And she's trying to use it to bring her sons back, to make them exist. She's trying to figure out a way through the Darkhold to make her sons exist. And I think that this is what triggers Doctor Strange, because we gotta remember, Wanda doesn't know what she's doing with this stuff. Wanda's powers are, incredible, but they're innate. She even tells Agatha, nobody taught me, nobody taught me this. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about what you're talking about because nobody taught me this. This is just
instinct.
This is just instinct. Wanda even tries to deny that her powers are magic because she's just like, no, it's just that this is just stuff I've been doing. This is my powers. So she doesn't have any kind of magic literacy. She doesn't, before Agatha showed it to her, she didn't know what the hell a Darkhold was, and now she's playing with it. I can't see that not going wrong.
In the comics, isn't she both magical and a mutant?
She is a mutant, yes. Yeah.
What is her mutant power?
I don't know, being magical? I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of like it. My understanding, it was always vague. It's originally it was stated her mutant power was to manipulate probability, and then I guess it just spiraled out.
You kind of retcon that into just general magic.
Yeah, they just kind of retcon that into general magic, I guess. My big guess is probably because manipulating probability doesn't translate into exciting visual effects for a comic book, You need some pizzazz with your funny book characters because everything is visual in that media.
Yeah.
Same for films and television. So I'm guessing that's why it was tweaked. Her powers were tweaked.
So I gotta say, I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. At the same time, I'm happy that they finally severed, kind of officially, in my opinion, the link between Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the MCU. There's so many people hanging on to them still being connected. Yeah. And by having the Darkhold show up again in a completely different form, I think that's pretty much severs the link. Because the Darkhold was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it looked completely different, And so this is them, I think, kind of saying, no, we're reusing those ideas. This is unrelated, these are now completely separated from each other. These are not the same universe anymore, and to make that very clear. And I'm saying that not because I don't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or think it doesn't deserve to have representation or anything. I'm saying that because it's just it's been going on for so long with so many people thinking it was still connected and other people going no, clearly they're not wanting them to be connected anymore. And I'm glad that, at least in my opinion, it's put to bed now.
Right. Me too. Because
that's one thing they did, I think.
It's really something I've known for a long time. People still like to point out, from the earlier seasons when they tried their best to keep.
They had like Samuel Jackson on the show and stuff.
Yeah, they did their best. They did their best. It's the problem of the people producing the TV show being enthusiastic and all about that connection, and then Kevin Feige and the Marvel Studio side of it, the movie side of it, just being like, we don't want that.
I think it was tainted for Feige because Perlmutter was still in charge of TV.
Right. And even to this day, when Feige's like asked about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he never sounds enthusiastic about it. Like, I saw a recent interview where they were talking about like the new upcoming Marvel television projects for Disney Plus and future movies, and they asked Kevin Feige about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and all he had to say was, well, we had Clark Gregg in Captain Marvel, and he was he's always great, so who knows when he'll pop back up again. And then then the subject changed. It's like,
which is like, I get it that fans of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are upset about that stuff, but I need to like make it clear, like, I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I enjoyed that show. I enjoyed the connections they made to it as well, but those connections were tenuous at best.
They were.
And it's better to sever those ties and now have like real connected TV shows.
The most significant thing that ever happened with the connection was when they based like the entire like second season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. off of Winter Soldier.
That was the first season, because that's why it was treading water.
Was that still the first season? I thought that happened in the second season.
No, because remember, the whole thing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is so many people hated the beginning of that show.
Oh God, that show.
They gave up, and it was because it was treading water, waiting for that plot twist.
Oh, that's right.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
and then they did that. They did that like maybe 2/3 of the way through the first season, and then they started bringing in all the Hydra storyline stuff.
Yeah,
they put all their pieces into play, and then they couldn't do anything because they had to wait for Winter Soldier to
wait for that movie to come out. And that, and I think that was the point where the TV producers were kind of like, yeah, we're not doing that again. We're not waiting for a movie to happen to get our plots going.
They tried to do it with something, because they did it again with like, they did like a weird tie-in thing with like Age of Ultron, where it was like they were basically implying that it was the characters from the TV show that managed to get the helicarrier up and running to get to them and stuff. But it was like, it just kind of felt forced. Like, it didn't really feel natural, It from that point on, they kept, every time they try to like tie into the movies, like, it just didn't work well. And then you could tell they kind of just really gave up around the time like Infinity War came out and the Snap. They had the Snap event, and then the TV show just completely ignored it. They're like, that's too hard. We can't do that. So it's like they kind of gave up after that point. But it's like, I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's just that,
Yeah, I liked it too. It
was a tenuous link, and it creates some plot holes and some issues when you have that link.
When you have that link. It's let me just say, like, people who are like upset that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't canon or whatever to the MCU, it's okay. It's going to be okay. It actually doesn't diminish Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as a show at all.
Mm-hmm.
Unless for some reason you're of the mindset that, none of it matters if it's not connected to movies, which it wasn't anyway for most of its run. Like, towards the end there, it just started completely ignoring what was happening in the films anyway.
Yeah, I think sometime maybe around season 3, they just gave up connecting it,
It's so it's fine. It's all good.
Yeah.
But like, going back on topic for the second, like, after that's our lead into Doctor Strange. It's Wanda messing around with the Darkhold and, possibly unleashing the evil, like, mastermind that we were expecting to show up at the end of WandaVision.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I'm a little annoyed that they're saving that all for Doctor Strange, because it just means that Doctor Strange is going to have to be really dense to get all of that in there.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it would have been cooler if they had, like, established that was already becoming a threat before, and then they'd be able to kind of go into Doctor Strange 2 like mid-crisis.
Yeah, it's clear that what people were like predicting like Mephisto or Nightmare, it's clear that they're just saving that for Doctor Strange.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, it's a little disappointing. It would have been cool if they could have like fit that into the motivations for Agatha and then made that part of the show, as it.
Definitely. I agree with that.
It would have been a little bit of a better ending. It also would have, if they had done that, if they had made that transition, like, oh, now that this has ended, now this entity is being unleashed and this is going to be a problem now, that would have been also helped them to make a messier ending, which is what I think, like, that's what I've been saying that I wish it had. I wish the series had a messier ending because it's a show about grief, and grief should have a messy ending. Like if it's a show about grief, it should have a messy ending. And that's the one thing I didn't like as much there. But hey, what we did get was an incredible scene between Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, where she's got her hands on the side of his face as he's like literally being, detached from reality. Like he's like ceasing to exist.
Yes.
Which is like beautiful. It is a beautiful shot again. It mirrored the one in the last episode where we saw the creation of that version of Vision. It was sad when she put the boys to bed, knowing that they were going to cease to exist. And then that made the post-credit scene kind of interesting in a different way when you find out that they're seemingly in like a different dimension now or something, that like they still exist just elsewhere. Seemingly, that could also be a ploy,
Right, exactly.
But yeah, WandaVision, man. Like you said, for this episode, you said like a 7 or an 8. What's your reaction for the whole show?
It's going to be the same.
It's
going to be about an 8. It's an 8.
See, I might put it a little bit higher because I think that the general show as a whole is better than the finale.
It's better than the finale, but I think the finale also informs the show as a whole. It's where the show led up to. Mm-hmm. And so if they stuck that landing a little better, it would have been a 9 for me, but I'm going to have to give it an 8. Sorry.
Yeah, it's I do think that the show as a whole is a bit better than the finale,
Yeah,
I just think that,
I agree with that,
because then you factor in all the sitcom stuff that really had nothing to do with the finale and stuff, and the other kind of things that they did throughout the run that was really interesting, and the way they structured certain things that wasn't in the finale because they'd gone past that point. I just think, yeah, it was a really good show. So I'm excited now I thought one of my concerns with the finale of this show was that we were going to go into Falcon and Winter Soldier and just be like, oh, I don't care about this. I just want to see Doctor Strange 2 now. Like, why do we care about this shit? Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't want to see that. I just want to see the Doctor Strange 2. But the way they kind of came out of it, even with like a little bit of, even though it's a little bit disappointing, as we talked about with the way they just kind of didn't link in a lot of the plot for like an R figure, the one benefit it has is that I'm fully ready for Falcon and Winter Soldier now.
Yeah, me too.
I don't feel like my excitement for Falcon and Winter Soldier has been cut down based on the way that the finale for WandaVision happened. So that's a little benefit of one of my disappointments actually has a little silver lining to it.
Right, totally.
So that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we missed that we want to talk about in this series or in this episode? But I think we pretty much got everything I really wanted to.
Yeah, we covered all the major stuff. I can't think of something we're missing out on.
All right, so all that's left to do is talk about what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. We are recording this on March 8th, on Monday. On Wednesday, March 10th, Dealer comes to Netflix, and South Park with a Q, the vaccination special, airs on Comedy Central. That'll also be available the next day on HBO Max. There's like a few different ways you can watch it if you need a different way to watch it. On Thursday, March 11th, Cake comes to FXX. Cold Courage to AMC Plus, Generation to HBO Max, Grey's Anatomy to ABC, Station 19 to ABC, and A Million Little Things to ABC. On Friday, March 12th, The One comes to Netflix, and Paradise PD comes to Netflix. On Monday, March 15th, Bulletproof to the CW. On Tuesday, March 16th, Mayans MC to FX, Staged to Hulu. On Friday, March 19th, Country Comfort to Netflix, Sky Rojo to Netflix, and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Disney Plus, which we will be discussing. That's the next show we're going to be discussing. We are not going to have a podcast next week. We're taking a week off, and then we're going to come back with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And that starts on Friday, March 19th, the show, not the podcast. On Saturday, March 20th, Final Space returns to Adult Swim. On Sunday, March 21st, Doctor Who, Fury from the Deep miniseries comes to BBC America. There were a bunch of lost episodes of Doctor Who that, like, a few years ago, they basically just found like a crate of episodes that had been missing for like 50 years.
Really?
And they're not in great condition, so they can't just air them, but they made like, they used the audio from them and then like made them animated. And
that's
so
pretty
is
cool.
Like a mini series. This is one of the mini series, one of several mini series, because it was a ton of episodes that were lost that they're now airing on BBC America. And so it's like an animated Doctor Who, but it's using the original audio from, and this is classic Who. This is like way old, you know? Also on that day, Genius, Aretha comes to Nat Geo, and The Gloaming comes to Stars. On Monday, March 22nd, Breeders comes to FX. Normally, I'd end it there, but since we're going to have a week off, I'll throw in a few more dates. On Thursday, March 25th, Superstore returns on NBC, The Restaurant on Sundance Now, Dota, Dragon's Blood on Netflix. On Friday, March 26th, Solar Opposites returns on Hulu. Invincible comes to Amazon Prime. This is the Robert Kirkman, like, animated superhero deconstruction, kind of like similar to The Boys, but animated, is coming to Amazon Prime. The Mighty Ducks Game Changers, that's the Mighty Ducks Disney Plus series with Emilio Estevez. That starts also on March 26th. And The Irregulars starts on Netflix. On Sunday, March 28th, City on a Hill comes to Showtime, and Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist returns on NBC. That's it. As I said, next week we are taking a break. We are coming back the next week after that with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which will be our new catalog show, I should say, like the show that we're going to be discussing every week, basically until we finish this podcast. We're going to finish this podcast on episode 300, and then we're going to jump right into a new podcast. We're going to take a few weeks off, I think, after that, and then we're going to jump in with a new podcast, a new format. It'll be similar because it's still Will and I. We're still going to be the two of us. Our conversations are going to have a similar flow to them and stuff, but we're going to structure it a little bit differently, and we're going to cover more material. So rather than just TV, we're also going to cover movies and games and whatever else strikes our interest. So we're not going to be slaves to whatever is happening in that one medium. We can talk about whatever interests us in any of those like 3 or more mediums. So that'll be fun. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, thetotalscreen.com. You can subscribe to this podcast through any major podcast client like Apple Podcast or Pocket Cast. And the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.
Good night.
If you would like to reach out to us and make a comment, send an email to contact@thetotalscreen.com. Stay tuned to The Total Screen.